For this presentation, we will be discussing Jesús Rosales-Ruiz. For a brief overview of this presentation, we will have an introduction, followed by various articles that Jesús Rosales-Ruiz participated in, and then looking at his work as a whole, followed by a brief why does it matter, and then finally, to finish up the presentation, we will be looking at mock interview questions. To begin, Jesus is actively researching and is currently a professor at the University of North Texas. There, he is working with an adjunct instructor, and together they have created a Skinner box for various purposes called Portal, or the Portable Operant Research and Teaching Lab. Throughout his career in schooling, Jesus has worked with both animals and humans, although in the field of ABA, he has mostly been known for his work with animals. Next, we will be looking at different articles. In the first article, we look at Rafiki, an olive baboon who had been engaging in self-injurious behavior, or what will now be referred to as SIB. The researchers looked at the function SIB was serving for Rafiki, and then analyzed what was maintaining the behavior. They then worked on reinforcing incompatible behaviors in order to lessen the rate of SIB for Rafiki. In Article 2, we look at research on stimulus equivalence, or rather how relations are formed between stimuli. The researchers were trying to find out if paper and pencil methods would be able to produce these relationships between stimuli through written instructions, and well, the results found that it was possible. In the next article, we turn to reinforcement. This research was to see if desperation-driven responses derived from deprivation of reinforcement, would impact responses. The research showed that even the slightest reinforcement could reinforce an established behavior, whether that behavior was unwanted or wanted, due to a state of deprivation from lack of responses and reinforcement. In the fourth article, we look at how different verbs can impact responses. The researchers used different verbs as stimuli and then recorded variation of responses. This showed how language could impact skill acquisition. The fifth article looks at behavioral cusps. These are essentially steps or events that need to be reached or are reached before an explosion of new skills. The researchers looked at developmental theories and how each milestone was preceded essentially by a behavioral cusp and how to recognize and encourage these cusps. The final article examined different channels of instruction to see which would be the most impactful in skill acquisition. Results showed that the Hear, See, Write channel had the highest long-term retention. This shows the impact of possible instructional designs to increase skill acquisition, which would impact the programs that we make and implement. Looking at Rosales-Ruiz's work, we can see how stimuli and language are common elements. The design of Portal also opens up possibilities for current and learning practitioners. Rosales-Ruiz has pointed out that the field of ABA has moved from what he believes it was originally designed to be, and that a constructionist view is the best way to move forward. This ties his work together as it all relates to shaping and the building blocks of skill acquisition. So, why does this matter? Well, we are the future of the field of ABA. We have a responsibility to learn and stay up to date with research and ethics. This includes knowing and understanding how to use Portal to task, question, and teach research for skill acquisition. With Rosales-Ruiz's work on shaping and understanding how stimuli and language impact skill acquisition, we can become better practitioners. With this knowledge derived from an analysis of his research and interviews, we can design more successful programs. And then through shaping and chaining, we can work on building behavior instead of trying to get rid of problem behaviors. Next, we will be looking at mock interview questions. For the first question, I refer back to an interview that Rosales-Ruiz had conducted. In an interview, you discussed the field of ABA and potential future and indicated that students needed more freedom as was once given to you when you were a student. How would you theoretically allow students this freedom while also respecting ethical considerations? The next questions are more related to practice. What would be some warnings or advice you may have for people entering the field? And how has your experience impacted your work and then impacted your teaching?
Created using Powtoon.